Hello, so in this video I will be doing a step-by-step of how I built this Fallout inspired post-apocalyptic terrain piece or diorama. The steps I show you in this video you can also apply to other terrain pieces for different worlds. The main body of this structure is going to be made out of cardboard. If you are using cardboard, make sure it's quite thick and robust. You can also use polystyrene or XPS foam as well. I'm just planning out a rough structure here just to see if it all fits roughly and how it's going to look. I'm also just scaling it up with a miniature as well just to check it looks okay. I am now going to be putting some Grate over the structure I am making. This will add some realism and make the walls look like they have plaster on them or concrete. I'm just applying the Grate now with these spreaders. Grate is cheap and easily available here in England. I use it a lot for hobbying and it's very versatile. You can use it on entire terrain boards if you wanted to. You can create roads with it. You could leave it a bit thicker, which I normally do, to create mud or like a textured paste which you can use for bases. I apologise if you do DIY and you're cringing at my application. It kind of looks like cream cheese on crackers. This stuff does take a couple hours to cure. I've left this a bit messier so it looks post-apocalyptic. I decided to use this adhesive sticky stuff for the base of the building. You can find this stuff in paint shops and hardware stores. There are a lot of different types of these adhesive rolls available. I'm going to be using these deluxe rollers to paint over the walls I've made. These are essentially small samples with little rollers on them, which are really great for using on terrain. Even when the paint's gone or dried up, you can still use the roller afterwards. Quite easy to find in hardware stores and random shops like B&M. There's a lot of different colours available of these and they cost about £1.60. You can sometimes get them reduced. They're nice for getting an even coverage on a flat surface. I also recommend other test sample paints as well for terrain. You can usually get these quite cheap or reduced in many places. I also use a lot of mid-range craft paints for painting terrain because it's cheaper and I don't waste my good paints that way. Next I'm adding some posters and logos to the diorama. These aren't hard to find. Just after a Google search of miniature posters for Fallout, you'll be able to find them. You can also do this for other gaming systems like Warhammer 40k, Necromunda, and so on. Or you could just create some more generic ones if you wanted to use it for a few different systems. If you're looking for inspiration for terrain pieces or dioramas, I highly recommend Googling concept art for video games. Now I'm going to be adding some oil washes to make the walls look a bit grimier. I've used oils a couple of times in my videos and I do have a tutorial on how I work with them. I'm also planning to do a video specifically on weathering and creating rust and rot on dioramas and terrain pieces and miniatures. I've now glued the structure together. I've just used super glue for this. You can use a hot glue gun or whatever else you want to use. I decided to add some foliage to add to the weathering and how decrepit and how long this structure has been abandoned and left to the elements. A friend of mine makes these vines and makes his own foliage and phlox etc, so I'll be linking the profile in the description. I've made some shelves using popsicle sticks, which is very easy to do. I'm just waiting for the PVA to dry. I also used some of the pictures I printed off earlier on, stuck them to some cardboard just to make them look like products had been abandoned in a store. I also decided to add some scatter terrain to make it more like it was in the world of Fallout. The Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures game makes its own range of terrain and scatter pieces. These are just some of the pieces which I've painted previously, just added some rust and crust to them just to make them more weathered. There's quite a lot of different terrain pieces from the world of Fallout available in the Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures game. You can also buy these as STL files and print them off from a 3D printer. There's terrain pieces as well available. I also decided I could potentially add some of my scatter pieces from my TT Combat collection. Again, I've already painted these up and added some texture and rust to make them look more post-apocalyptic. TT Combat have a range called Tabletop Scenery with lots of cool scatter terrain pieces. They are quite affordable and have a lot of lovely details to them. You could also grab some blue stuff and possibly make your own casts from these sorts of things as well. They also sell a lot of laser cut MDF buildings as well in different pieces. These are quite cool because you can take them and weather them and add paint and stuff to them as well. You can also buy molds to make your own terrain with. I really like this mold from Green Stuff World with like computer screens and keyboards, etc. I use resin with these types of molds. So here is the finished product. I hope you like it because I am quite happy with it myself. I used some of the parts from that Green Stuff World science fiction mold to create a computer and some electronic parts. I've just added the vines back on and moved them around a little bit. I've just added the miniatures there just to show you the scale and show you what they look like in the terrain piece, and I think they look really cool. These are from the Fallout Wasteland Warfare range. There's a ghoul, and there was Piper before, and Nora, and there's Nora with dog meat. Again, as I said previously, the steps I've shown you could apply to other terrain pieces, not just in the Fallout universe. But if you are interested, this was the game which I planned the terrain piece for. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope that was useful to you in some way. You can also find me on various different platforms, and you can help support me as well if you'd like.